Sometimes, the truth can be stranger than fiction. Many of Hollywood's most compelling characters have in fact been based on real-life events or people. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 fictional characters that were inspired by real figures. Conrad Veidt inspired the Joker. The infamous Joker was partly inspired by the German silent movie star Conrad Veidt. Veidt was born in a middle-class district in Berlin of 1893. When interrogated by the Nazis in the 1930s, Veidt stated that his ethnicity was Jewish. Despite not being from a Jewish background himself, Veidt's wife was Jewish, and he couldn't bear the idea of them being separated by the German government's increasingly anti-Semitic policies. There were even rumours that Goebbels was planning on having Veidt killed. After being blacklisted by the Nazi government, the couple fled to the UK in 1933, where they began a new life, and Veidt went on to star in many films. An anti-Nazi, Veidt donated a huge sum of money to help the British war effort. After the advent of talking pictures, it became clear to Veidt that he would be typecast in many films as a Nazi due to his heavy German accent. However, he ensured that it was contractually agreed that he would only play Nazis depicted in an unsympathetic light. One of Veidt's most enduring roles was Gwynplaine in the 1928 film The Man Who Laughs, based on the novel by Victor Hugo of the same name. This was a huge source of inspiration for the character of Joker, who first appeared in the Batman comics of the 1940s. His manic smile has since become iconic and instantly recognisable as inspiring the character of the Clown Prince of Crime. In this film, directed by German filmmaker Paul Lenny, Veidt played a man who was cursed to live his life with a permanent grin on his face. This was as punishment for his father having offended the king of the time. He becomes the star of a freak show and eventually falls in love with a woman who accepts him despite his disfigurement. Unlike the novel, the film has a happy ending. Although relatively unknown today, The Man Who Laughs was a huge hit for its time, grossing $1 million at the box office. When images of the two characters are compared side by side, it's undeniable that Veidt's portrayal was hugely influential on the development of the Joker. Although Veidt's character isn't sinister and unpredictable like that of the Joker, there are clear physical similarities between the two. There's some debate as to who originally conceived the character of the Joker. Comic book creators Bill Finger, Jerry Robinson, and Bob Kane all claim to have been responsible for different aspects of the iconic villain. However, all versions agree that Bill Finger was the one who first showed the others an image of Veidt as inspiration. Veidt enjoyed a long career as an actor, but died of a heart attack in Los Angeles in 1943, at the age of 53. Years after the Joker first appeared in the Batman comics. Sadly, Veidt died too early to fully appreciate the huge impact that his portrayal would make on popular culture for years to come. Robert the Haunted Doll inspired Chuckie from Child's Play. Although not a flesh and blood human being, the strange real-life story that inspired the Child's Play franchise is arguably more disturbing than the movies themselves. The character of Chuckie was inspired by a real-life doll, which has come to be known as Robert. Stories relating to Robert's evil activities have a long history. The story goes that Robert was gifted to a maid by the family she served. The maid is said to have been a practitioner of voodoo, and that one day, unhappy with her life circumstances, she decided to put a curse on the doll. In 1906, the doll fell into the hands of a young boy named Robert Eugene Otto, who lived in Key West, Florida, who grew up to be a relatively well-known artist. It's reported that the doll had the ability to alter its facial expressions and seemed to make unsettling giggling sounds. The doll was said to be capable of moving voodoo figurines around the room and seemed to be conscious of events going on around him. The young boy, who later went by the name Gene, told his parents that the doll was guilty of mutilating other toys after dark, when he would also knock over furniture, among a whole host of other troubling deeds. After Gene passed away in 1974, a new family moved into the home in Key West. the family converted the old house into a bed and breakfast, completely unaware of the evil still lurking within the house. Soon, the family's young daughter found Robert in the attic and began to play with him. The young girl made similar claims to the house's old occupier. The doll was said to mutilate other toys and cause trouble under the cover of darkness. Guests at the home reported hearing footsteps in the night, and there are even stories of the doll attempting to strangle the family dog with a cable. Eventually, the family locked Robert in a trunk in a loft. Today, Robert resides in a museum where he allegedly continues his evil mischief. Notoriously camera-shy, Robert is said to take his revenge on those who dare to take his picture, as the numerous apology notes sent to the museum each week will attest. Indeed, the doll has been implicated in a vast number of unfortunate events throughout the years, from car accidents to a divorce and physical injuries. Robert isn't the only haunted doll to have inspired a movie series. A Raggedy Ann doll named Annabelle famously inspired the film series under the same name. In both cases, there haven't been any strong resemblance between the real doll and the fictional representation, but they are still, nonetheless, extremely creepy. The director of Child's Play has never confirmed that Robert directly inspired the character of Chuckie. However, the similarities between the two tales are noteworthy. The exorcism of Roland Doe was said to inspire The Exorcist. It's said that the story of The Exorcist, the novel by William Peter Blatty, which was adapted into the now iconic movie, was influenced by a case known as the Exorcism of Roland Doe. Roland Doe was the pseudonym used to refer to a 14-year-old boy who was the subject of a series of exorcisms carried out by the Roman Catholic priests in the late 1940s, although sometimes the alternative pseudonym Robbie Mannheim is used. Roland was said to have been born into Cottage City in Maryland. A lonely child, he relied on the adults around him for company and was particularly close to his Aunt Harriet, who introduced him to spiritualist techniques such as the Ouija board. Trouble began after Harriet's death. The boy reported the sounds of scratching coming from the walls and floors of the house. The family stated that an unseen demonic force compelled objects to fly around the house whenever the boy was nearby. After the intervention of doctors and psychiatrists failed to help, Roland was taken to have some more spiritual methods used, and he was observed. The demonic activity intensified. On one occasion, Roland broke a spring from a mattress, with which he violently slashed a priest's arm. When we look at the events that followed, it's clear to see where the inspiration for the novel and film was taken from. After the incident at the institution, 2 more priests visited Roland at a family member's home, where they observed many more diabolical activities. It's reported that the bed began to shake violently and that objects levitated around the room. Roland addressed the priest in a guttural demonic voice and displayed an obvious aversion to sacred items and religious incantations. Although he seemed fairly normal during the day, the bizarre activity seemed to intensify as night fell. After many failed exorcisms, the priest believed they had finally convinced the devil to leave Roland's body on April 18, 1949. Roland recalled how, in a trance, he saw Satan vanquished by Saint Michael in an epic battle between good and evil. After coming around from his trance, the boy stated, "He is gone." By all accounts, Roland went on to live an ordinary life after these events occurred. There are some rumours that he called his son Michael after the saint he believed had saved him. Although the subject of The Exorcist is a young girl, not a boy, it's obvious to see how this strange tale has inspired one of the most iconic horror movies of all times. Some of the gorier and more X-rated details depicted in the film never actually happened in the real case. However, it's evident that the film and novel borrow heavily from the true events that have been well documented. So what do you make of these real figures from this video? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and help us by growing this community whilst working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.